Hey, what's going on, guys? Indy here with Ultimate 2 Reviews, taking a look at some new stuff from Olight today. So, Olight is doing some pretty wild stuff with materials. I was kind of looking at this originally. I said made of, I thought it maybe said doll or owl, something like that. It's actually a Olight aluminum, and this is going to be an olive green. The funny thing is, when I saw this originally out of the box in more sunlight, it kind of looks more goldish. In my studio lighting right now, it looks more like army green, but in like a medium light, it does actually look kind of olive. But I do like this color a lot. Super unique look to it. It's like a lighter olive. It's kind of how the best I describe it. But to your eyes, it can be a couple different colors at the same time. Kind of that army greenish, goldish, olive-ish. It's actually a really cool color. And honestly, on this flashlight, it looks absolutely amazing. But this is going to be the Warrior Ultra. We have the all-new Duron knife here in that same olive green too. And then we have, honestly, one of the coolest little flashlights I've seen in a while. This is the Oclip Pro. And this is one of those flashlights where, well, I'll get to this one in a little bit here, but I'm just like, I was really blown away actually by the Oclip. Honestly, a really cool little light. And I've got, my property is decent size, a lot of walking I can do on my property at night. This thing comes in actually really, really handy. I'm actually quite surprised with the performance of this thing. But anyways, let's start with the Olight Warrior. This thing is a really cool flashlight. Not to kind of start with the negative stuff right away, but I've never really been a huge fan of these kind of rear magnetic clip charging things here. I just prefer USB-C myself. I know this is a great way to keep dust and debris out. The problem is these things are not universal. And what I mean by that is I've got another flashlight by another brand that uses the same one, but the magnetism is reversed. So it makes it so that these, of course, are not usable by anything else but the actual version, by the Olight Warrior. So this is more of a proprietary charging device here. But the other one I've got also is kind of not working anymore. It's kind of starting to fail. So I'm not saying the Olight's going to fail. I'm just saying that I've seen one from another brand already start to fail, and USB-C is kind of just a tried and true, method at that point that just works on everything, and it's pretty universal for the most part. I know the cables can be kind of different here or there, but not that big of a deal there. So kind of my only complaint so far on this thing, we do of course have the front and rear buttons that kind of Olight's kind of known for there. So you can hit that. That'll then light these little green indicators up as well too. And of course we can make just minute adjustments there. Low, medium, high. You pop open the manual, of course, you can find all of those specs there too. Right here is going to be what you want to know about your lumens. We have moonlight, 1 lumen, 55 days. It's kind of crazy that they actually include that, which if you're in an emergency situation, that's awesome. Like if you're just stuck somewhere, and you don't know how long you're going to be there for, moonlight, bam, 55 days, you're using it a couple times a day. You're not using it on all the time, but at least it would give you, some type of light there. That's actually an awesome feature to have. Turbo, 100%, 2.5 minutes is going to drop then down even lower, 162 minutes, then 39 minutes. So you get a decent amount of turbo time there. 800 lumens at high, 168 minutes, drops down, 39 minutes there. Medium, 200 lumens, low, 15. Of course, moonlight's 1 lumen there. Time to fully charge, 5.5 hours. So, a good amount of charge time on these things. That's kind of classic for a lot of the Olight stuff that I've seen in the past. Let's see what kind of battery we have in here. I know it's a, what kind of cells are in here? I just looked, I always forget. Yeah, 21700 cell in here, and then it's a 5000 milliamp battery, 3.6 volts in there. Of course, by Olight, and 72.5 grams on there. It's funny because you take this flashlight, you take the battery out, it's like the battery is most of the weight of this flashlight. It'd be amazing what we can see in the future if we get better battery technology that's lighter, smaller, more powerful. But I mean, man, this thing is obviously made of aluminum, that's for sure. So that's pretty cool to see just how light this little flashlight is. All right, moving on to the Olight, the little Oclip. This thing is pretty sweet, so pretty easy to use. It just uses basically a little rotary dial here to pick your settings here. So you've got 3 different options here. We've got a red light. There you go. You can then switch to a just forward light. and then you can switch to a down-facing light, which honestly, that's what I've been using the most, because you can just kind of clip this thing on, and you can just be walking outside, no problem. This thing does a phenomenal job at just giving you the light you need. Here's turbo on. It's pretty awesomely bright for what this thing is, and this thing, it's one of those things where it's like, I'm like, oh, okay, what is this for, exactly, and I started using it, just kind of clip it on, my waistband, and walk outside in the dark. It lights up everything really, really nicely. USB-C charger on the side. Of course, this is not going to be, like a ultra IPX67 rated kind of flashlight here, but it's cheap. It does the job well. It's nice and bright. It feels like it's not like super light, super heavy. So it definitely feels really well made by Olight. And yeah, honestly, this thing is pretty sweet for what it is. Definitely way more useful than what it looks like out of the box. And easily can recommend this thing by far. Really cool little tool there. Let me show you guys some stuff here with the flashlight outside in the dark. All right, so let's check out the Warrior Ultra here. We're on low right now. We can hold down the button to give us a medium, which really does brighten things up here really quick. Going into high, not a massive difference between high and medium. Now you can double click, of course, to go to turbo mode, or you can use the back button, which has just a click for on, or it's got a second, you push it farther, that's going to be your turbo mode, which really lights things up here. The nice about turbo mode on this thing is it gets warm, but it's not like the quickest warming flashlight in turbo mode I've had. I have some other ones that, you put it in turbo mode and you are getting toasty within 10 seconds. It is really, really quick. At least with this flashlight, it does pretty good at not getting super hot, super quick. But yeah, it's got a phenomenal range here. My gate's about a quarter mile up there. It's not as strong as some of the other flashlights that I've seen that have been, quite a bit more money, but this thing is overall still a really good, powerful flashlight. Definitely don't want to look into this on turbo mode, because this would be really, really bright here. All right, let's take a look at the Oclip Pro now. We're starting off on low here. This is with the downward facing lens right here. So I can go to the basically spotlight lens, which gives you a light going out. In low, yeah, it's not that powerful. We go over to in red. It's not, actually, I don't know if I can see this on camera too well, but it's pretty dim red here. Let's go up to medium. Actually, that's a flash on red. All right, let's go to medium now on the spotlight. Medium on just like walking, which is actually, this is my favorite for just like regular walking on medium. It's kind of a good balance between battery life and still getting, plenty of light out there. If we go up to high, you can definitely see a difference in high, but for most walking, you shouldn't need to be on high really ever. Maybe if you got some fog or some smoke or something like that. Let's go to the spotlight, which this thing is actually quite impressive for this tiny of a little spotlight. It does a phenomenal job. And then here is our red light, which doesn't really have a high. It's kind of the same on medium, high, or low, medium, and high anyways, so not a huge difference there for the red. But switching back to spotlight and just our regular walking flood here. Such an awesome little flashlight for how tiny this thing is. Does an absolutely incredible job here. All right, let's move on to the Duron knife here. This thing is actually a pretty sweet little knife. A couple of complaints. I watched a couple other reviews on this knife as well too, to make sure I wasn't kind of just like, just talking and I was the only person thinking the same way here. But this thing is incredibly hard to flick out with one hand. So you've got a little thumb screw there. Let's just watch this, guys. I'll just try to just flick this thing out with just my thumb. If this thumb screw was located just a bit down farther to give you more leverage, that would be awesome. So if I put this in reverse and do this, it's significantly easier. You're just pushing up against that lever right there, and it's just, you gotta really put some force into this thing to do this with one hand. The best way to do it is just kind of come out from this side, and I'm using 2 fingers to do that too. So that's the only complaint I have about this knife so far, is that it just does not want to flick out. I'm a fan of just the lever here in the back, really. I've got plenty of knives that have that thumb screw and it works just fine. So not a huge deal there. Let's just open up this little box here. Again, this is a pretty sweet little knife, using the same exact material as the Warrior Ultra there. Of course, Olight's own version of their aluminum handle here. Nitro V coated blade as well too. Oh wow, that thing is nice and sharp. Cutting through that cardboard without much effort at all. Olight does actually a pretty good job of keeping their knives sharp from the factory, so that is nice. I don't really like to use that all those paper tests you see. I like to actually use something more realistic. I'm not cutting paper with a knife, but I will cut cardboard with a knife. So I like to use something a bit more realistic there. So nice little knife here. That Nitro V blade there. And for the price point, pretty solid little knife. It does have, of course, mounting screws, so you can move that clip to the other side if you want to. I wish it had something for putting a keychain on this thing would be nice. Just kind of be able to clip it on. I'm a big clip it to a keychain kind of guy. So it does not have that, unfortunately. But nice little knife for the money, though. My only complaint, of course, is that it just does not want to flip out by itself, which is kind of sad there. So we did that, no problem. But other than that, fantastic build quality and surprisingly light on this thing. I've got the box right here, and they are saying 90 grams or 3.17 ounces. Just crazy. It's one of the lightest knives I've got, and it's definitely one that you want to kind of carry with you because it's got that really cool, like that olive finish on there. Nice little belt clip here, and just the lightweightness of it is awesome. I just wish that they would. I don't know, even the spring assist in this thing would be awesome. That's kind of one thing I kind of feel, every time I carry this thing, I'm just like, we had a spring assist, that'd be so awesome, But oh well. So only complaint there. But yeah, the Olight little Oclip here Pro. Honestly, this thing is absolutely awesome. For what I've been using it for, I think it's actually pretty sweet walking around at night, light up your path a little bit without having to hold a flashlight or anything. And it's pretty cheap and affordable. The Warrior Ultra here, absolutely incredible little flashlight. Love this thing. Just don't like the charging on the back here. That's kind of only complaint about that. I'm not saying it's going to fail. I'm not saying I'm going to have any issue with it. I just have seen issue with it in the past with other brands. So I'm kind of been a little turned off on that charging style. I just prefer USB-C, easy. Everyone's got it. I'm trying to convert everything I've got to USB-C as well, just so I can carry less cables, have less proprietary stuff with me. That's kind of been my big goal with going into 2025 right now, is just USB-C everything. But other than that, guys, thanks again to Olight for sending me some of this cool stuff out my way. Definitely going to keep, using this stuff, seeing if I have any other issue with it or anything else that really surprises me and is like, wow, this thing is actually way better than I thought it was. So I like to get a bit more use in before I make more definitive review statements on this stuff. But yeah, Olight, they're doing it again, releasing some absolutely amazing stuff. Always really happy with anything they put out. They've done a fantastic job on a lot of their lights. And I've been carrying Olight flashlights now for at least 10 years. So love the stuff. Thanks again, guys, for watching. Stay safe out there and have a great day.